preparing a show, a lot of also from actually my family who know that I'm working in exhibition, but they don't know anything about the job, right? So they ask, the show is how long? 4 days. So what do you do the rest of the year, right? And I say, well, nothing.
Secondly, I would like to ask about your personal life as well, because I have heard a very nice love story today.
Oh.
So, hello and welcome to Petra AIR podcast. Today we are going to have a guest from Germany, Mr. Tobias Bretzel. Welcome.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here.
We are very honored that finally we have this conversation, because it's over a 9th month we were in contact and working on it.
Yes.
So I'm very proud that we can be here and doing this. And in order to introduce yourself, how would you describe what you do in Aero Friedrichshafen, which is the leading exhibition in Europe for general aviation?
Yes, so thank you for the invitation, and finally we can make that happen. My name is Tobias Bretzel. I'm the show director of Aero Friedrichshafen and head of aviation of our company, Vernemic. What do we do? Yeah, our show is the leading show for general aviation in Europe, and with a global audience as well, coming from all over the place, from the planet. We are also growing very much, very strong in business aviation. And yeah, my job basically is to put the show together, not alone. That's, of course, with my incredible team, which is based in Friedrichshafen, but also in other parts of the world. And beside Aero Friedrichshafen, we also do, together with our partners in South Africa, Aero South Africa, and Aero Asia happening in the south of China. So very exciting for that.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
It is, yeah.
How you are managing with the stress during these shows, during the year? Are there any peaks?
Yes, there are, definitely. So preparing a show, a lot of also from actually my family who know that I'm working in exhibition, but they don't know anything about the job, right? So they ask, the show is how long? 4 days. So what do you do the rest of the year, right? And I say, well, nothing. Nothing.
Sure.
No, but honestly, we often say, after the show is before the show. And I would even say before the show is before the show, which means the first preparations for the show in the next year very often start already before the actual show in the current year happens, right? So it's a long process. However, of course, we have highs or peaks and times where it's not so stressful. But the entire organization cycle really takes easily more than a year. Of course, during summer, it's not as impactful and stressful like actually now towards autumn, towards fall. It's picking up very much, of course. I think it's now a little bit more than 200 days until it happens, and it's already picking up. But it's a good stress. I'm a trade show guy since my early days. We will probably come to that later on. So I simply love what I'm doing. I love to bring together people, to engage with people. That's probably a very simple sentence, but it's all about people in our industry. And therefore, for me, the stressful times are also the times which I really enjoy.
Thank you for saying that. It's just come into my mind because you are in this position for a long years. It's, I would say, more than a decade, isn't it? Since started?
Yes, so I took on the position as show director in 2018. But I work in the exhibition industry and in aviation events since, I don't know, a long time. So I'm now 40, getting gray, and I did my first experience in the trade show industry when I was like 15 or 16, being as a student or school guy working during my summer holidays in the technical department, setting up stands and all of that. And then my, I would say, more like professional exhibition career started in 27. And then getting into aviation events was in 2013. So yeah, quite a long time.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I would also like to ask about your obstacle on the way. What was the biggest challenge in your career since the 15 till now?
Right. So I think there have been a few obstacles or challenges, and in general, I think if it's always easy, and if you have no obstacles or challenges in your career, then it's not a proper career. I would say it like that. Because if you don't, especially in our industry, if you don't get used to manage challenges or obstacles, then you have a problem, right? The exhibition industry and the trade show industry, a lot of people that are not working in it, they think, oh, it's all very well organized and it's everything happens with a plan. And a lot of times it's, I would say, very dynamic. Yeah? So you need to be flexible, spontaneous, have plan Bs or even plan Cs in order to proceed. And speaking about my personal obstacles, I mean, maybe my first one was when I finished school and I thought I want to do something completely different, studying at the university politics and history because I was interested in it. But then I found out that the way of studying there and the content was at the end not really satisfying. But I thought in my younger years, early 20s, yeah, but I have to finish it because how does that look when I fail in a way that I'm quitting it, and that was a kind of quite some pressure, yeah, and that was a first learning for me that I say, okay, no, when something doesn't feel right, and you can try. I'm not a big fan of not trying. But if you constantly or after a certain while find out, okay, no, that's not what I want to do, you should stop it and stop wasting your time, whatever you want to call it. You need to change. And I think that's the first strong thing. If you are simply able and brave enough, I would not call it brave, yeah, but that you say, no, I'm going to stop that right now and refocus and shift things around. I think that's a big topic, yeah? And I think that's really something that I can only also address to younger people, that if something doesn't feel right, you need to stop it and you need to refocus on what you love. And that's what I did. I then changed and I let's say, applied to study trade show management. And I succeeded because that was at the end what I loved. And here I am, the trade show guy.
Yeah, very successful one, I would like to add.
Yeah, doing okay.
Sometimes it's fine to, get our kudos.
Yeah.
In the Czech language, we used to say that nobody will appreciate you as much as you can do it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm. My wife would say I'm not maybe not really good at that. I'm not good in accepting compliments, I would say sometimes, but maybe even with 40, I can learn that. Let's see.
There is still time to, as aviation mindset coach, I love showing people other perspective.
Yeah.
And also being the mirror of what they might not see.
That's good. Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
So, speaking of your wife,
yes,
I would like to ask, what's your approach towards women empowerment in aviation or even in aerospace area? And secondly, I would like to ask about your personal life as well, because I have heard a very nice love story today.
Oh.
So if you would like to share a little bit of it.
Yeah. So first of all, speaking about the first part, like, empowerment of women, and we talked about that also, I think 1 year ago when we discussed, how we could do something together at our show. It's a topic I would love to not need to cover, right? But we need to cover it because, like in other industries, it's also the same in aviation, that there's not enough diversity, let's call it like that, in all the different segments, no matter if it's pilots in cockpit or technicians or whatsoever. So we need to do more to get women into aviation. And I think for me, in my team, we have a very, I would say, diversified team, which is great. We, of course, also have a lot of women in our team. And what is really important for me is also that the women that have a family, are returning maybe from maternity leave, that they are not just, doing, back office topics, but that they have in my team a real responsibility for certain tasks. Sometimes that's challenging. I know that, as you said, from my private life, when you have a family, you have kids, and you also have a job and you want to have, move on with your career or are responsible for certain projects, that's sometimes really stressful. But I think it's also, fulfilling, I would say, right? And we try to do that as good as we can. And from what we do as Aero Friedrichshafen, in terms of initiatives, we first of all want to address that topic with different organizations such as yours in our conference program, and give these initiatives, these organizations visibility, either on the stage with a dedicated conference, with a dedicated side event, or with a booth or something. That's really important. And to bring it up, because you know that we are focusing on a lot of different sub-industries, ultralight, drones, business aviation, general aviation, and so on, helicopters. And we try to work in these different segments with organizations that can address that into their different, let's say, channels and in their different sub-industries. Because I think it's not enough to just have, I would say, one conference topic on one stage. It needs to be addressed in the different areas of our show.
Thank you for that. Also, in the year 2025, I was the only speaker at Aero Friedrichshafen from Czech and Slovakia country. So I highly appreciate the opportunity to speak for Petra AIR Foundation.
Yes.
Also, geographically speaking.
Yes, also very important. I mean, that these countries are also in general very important to us, and we have a very strong footprint in from these countries coming to our show, both from exhibitors and visitors, right? So, yeah. No, and we hopefully continue that for next year then.
We will look forward for it. Speaking of which, Petra AIR Foundation is supporting women in aerospace with respect to men and women equally, which actually differ us from our association as well, because we do believe that it's really important to bring this mutual dialogue, because sometimes let's admit that women and men has a different way of thinking and seeing another, speaking of which the perspective, they usually have another perspective on the same thing. And I highly appreciate that you are one of the very first men here in the podcast to speak on this topic.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and we discussed it previously, that it's not about that the men in general don't want to support women. Sometimes it's that they don't know how and what they need. And if you don't know the needs, it's like when you're discussing with your wife and it's like, what the hell you want?
Yeah.
So I truly believe that it's important to actually make this discussion and bringing the mutual dialogue, because in speaking of aviation industry, there is 90% of men working in general and 10% of women. So if we only discuss the point from the women perspective, we don't address 90% of the scope. And also with regards to respect, me personally, I truly believe that respect is important. And I personally knowledge and noticed that sometimes women are not so big fan of more women coming into industry, and they are battling
that's
in between.
Interesting. Okay.
And then men might be more respectful to that issue. So for me, in our foundation project, it's really important to respect to each other, men to women, women to men, and in between, because I think that every woman who works in aviation industry for more than a year or two, we did experience some issue which is behind. I was also sometimes being asked to sell something because of my face, or even some kind of, let's say, plus service. Okay. And I needed to address that I'm not going to do that, and I'm knowledgeable good enough in order to provide everything with my knowledge and skills. And I truly believe I'm not the only one in the industry.
I know what you're saying, and it's a shame that we need to talk on something like that in the year 2025, on one side, I think we need to kind of analyze the situation on that. And I think that the most important thing here is that no matter if women or men, but that both are more sensible on something like that, and that they speak up, not just women for themselves, but also men that see a situation like you just briefly described it, and that, you know, they speak against something like that when they see something like that happening, right? That's very important, and I think we cannot do enough. We need to do more to make people, and of course also men, women, aware that they need to be sensitive on that, and that they need to report it, or that they need to stand up on that. It's really important. And I think women shouldn't go the extra mile to prove that they are knowledgeable for doing their job. It should be, you know, that's exactly where it's still in many ways and in many industries not an equal position, unfortunately, and we need to change that.
And this is a little bit different from my perspective, because speaking of like a chairwoman of Petra AIR Foundation at the moment, like changing my hat a little bit. We do believe that it's not about blaming the industry and showing who did what.
Yeah.
We want to address individual people. It might be men or women.
Yeah.
Who actually advocates for women being in aerospace industry.
Yeah.
And that's why even in our aerospace community, we welcome both men and women who wants to work on themselves and work towards the right mindset to get the dream job they want to.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And I think, there's this very important cultural topic behind it, what we just discussed, that all need to be more sensitive. And it doesn't just, that's a much broader topic than just speaking about the aviation industry. However, there's also a very simple economical point here, right? So I guess the entire industry is lacking staff, right?
Exactly.
Talents. So, and especially in Europe, and I mean, I can only speak for Germany, but I guess it's in a lot of other European countries as well, we are lacking talent. So, and there's just that economic, logical thing behind that, if you're lacking staff and you have that 10 to 90% difference, that we need to do what we can to empower women to, to get into the industry, to make it easy and attractive and accessible for women, and also to remove the barriers from kind of like re-entry and working as a family and as a mother with children again in the industry, right? And to, people I know a lot of people, a lot of women who, they are keen and they love their jobs, not only, of course, in the aviation industry, but, and it's sometimes so hard. It's like, stuff like daycare or childcare, how easy it is, and how the hours they can leave their children, but also, of course, and coming to the topic we discussed from my private life, how, of course, men, the dads, and I'm one as well, getting more responsibility there, and I think that's also a cultural topic. That a lot of people are still thinking, oh, the childcare and all, all of that mental workload, let's say, that's part of the job of the woman, and it's of course not. But how to really get to the point, and I think it's just about constantly addressing it in the different industries, that of course it's also the job of us men to bring their thing to the table, to support, to take care of the children.
Speaking of which,
yeah.
Can you just imagine that you are doing a very successful career as you are doing as a CEO of Aerospace, and also making more time with your family and kids? How does it look like in idle world?
Well, it starts at the end or in the beginning, whatever, to think of how to better structure your workload, how to how to really structure and discuss that with your, in my case, with my wife, to say, what are the topics during the week or the upcoming week? What can I do? How can we do it? And then, we are now living in such a much more flexible working time, right? So I mean, you have your emails, you have your Teams and all of that at your work phone. So I think, at the end, it's just for a lot of situations a matter of discussion, communication with your partner, and flexibility. I mean, also me as somebody who leads a team, I can also say, hey, I don't know. I quickly take the call from in the car or something else, but that needs to be possible for the entire team, right? So there needs to be a clear structure privately, who does which tasks. But I think there also needs to be a clear path in an office where you say, hey, like having remote work or other ideas, to have a clear breakdown of what is possible to make it more flexible in terms of work-life balance, right? And allowing, no matter if women or men, but working a little bit more remote or more flexible. For me, I don't care as long as the job is done from any team member, if they do it, in the morning or in the afternoon or whenever, as long as it's done. If they need to bring the kids to school, or there's how it is, a doctor's appointment, or the child is sick or whatsoever. At the end, I think we all need to be more flexible here. That's what I want to say.
Thank you very much for addressing that. Actually, the 3 topics we are working in Petra AIR Foundation are actually the self-confidence of women, because it's factor 1. They don't feel good enough to work in aviation. Second is the lack of role models. We usually don't have so much, let's say, airline pilots as a female, that for young girl to see, okay, I'm going to be an airline captain. We usually don't see that much as the young kids, boys, playing, I'm going to be the captain, and it feels so natural for them. And third is what you were addressing. Usually female, also in European countries, are the one who are taking care not only for kids, as for households. Like if a technical plumber is coming, also me, usually I'm somehow at home in order to handle that. So managing the minute aviation career, let's admit it, with the family life is one of the third challenge we address.
Yeah, and I think the coming to the role model thing, I think that's what is also important for us. We work with a lot of different role models, also because beside, of course, bringing the industry together once a year in Friedrichshafen, or also in the different regions, South Africa and China, is also really to fight the lack of talents in the industry. And we really think each year, what can we do better for the next edition? I mean, we have a own dedicated career event, 2 days, the so-called Aero Career Days. But we also work with these role models, also female role models, bring them into the room, bring them onto the stage, discussing it, addressing it in certain formats, and doing meet and greets, really that the people and young girls, for example, see these role models. I mean, it's a little bit like a mixture at our show, seeing all these beautiful aircraft at our show in the different segments, different sizes, but also, of course, the people that fly them. And I think that's very important, that we work with these role models.
Yeah, and actually I want to address that, because just yesterday we went to a NATO Days for Kids in Mnichovo Hradiště Airport. And the nice point was that when I was asking the kids, the students, because we were addressing what aviation or space career they can have, and I asked who is about to become a pilot, like who can be a pilot or a mechanic or working in aviation. And the young kids, the boys, they were saying like, it doesn't matter unless they done the job, both can do it.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it's really nice that the young generation can see and address that.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that also by the time it might be changed also on the community or on a wider level.
Yeah.
It just sometimes needs a time to accepting it, and also with the challenges of lack of workers in aviation. Actually, that's how we started.
Yeah.
Because I used to work as a pilot sales manager in a big flight school, and we were also addressing the data from Airbus and Boeing, how much mechanical and pilots are missing in next 20 or 30 years over time. And it says like, when in the Second World War, there was these ATA and WASP women, and they were serving on the ground and also as a female pilots. And the RAF Museum says that their role, to taking the aircraft from the factory to the battlefield, and from the battlefield, the damaged aircraft, if it was possible, back to the factory to be upgraded and done in the condition that they can serve in the battle again, was crucial for the Second World War. So the idea was that if they could do that, and after the Second War they were like being thankful and sending home, usually. So it was like, if they can made it in the Second World War to support the industry, why not here? Because it's still the same.
Yeah.
Like, in general, people from Ukraine are helping Czech economy a lot because of bringing new workers into industry we didn't expect. And I would address female pilots, mechanics, or marketers in the same way, that it's a sector where we don't address it.
Yeah.
They can like surprisingly come to the industry and support the issue we are solving.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, speaking again about role models, I mean, at the end, the young generation, the biggest impact for them is, of course, their parents and their family. And if they see a positive role model here, that, it's not just daddy bringing home the money, the old role model, but like a equal situation there, I think they just, they take that as granted and in a positive way as normal, right? So it starts with the parents and the closer family, of course. When they see it there, it's great. When they have a old role model where, daddy does nothing at home and just goes to work, then they adapt it as well. And that's what we need to get rid of.
Yeah, if we do it on an individual basis, that we are not saying that the others should do that. And
Correct.
Speaking how I can change my attitude in order to be more equal in our household, I think this is the way how to do it. Because it's so easy to get to know how the whole industry might change or what might be done for the other people. And it's always quite challenging to look inside and see, okay, so in my family, how I can actually address this issue I'm solving on even global level in my personal life.
Yeah. So it's the same with me. My wife works full time, has a big responsibility in her job. I do the same, but at the end, and I'll be brutally honest here, it's also not 50-50, yeah? So she does the majority of the job at home. I mean, I at least know it, and I try to change it, but I can tell you from my end that it's very hard to really do that, and it takes exactly what I mentioned, a constant communication, what is going on, who can do what, and being flexible there. Just only like that, and of course also with some help from her parents, my parents, to get the job done, because at the end, in the 30s and 40s, you are usually in your rush hour of life, where you look on your career, where you're building your family and all of that. So a lot is going on in these years, and I think it's just a constant, communication and thinking of it, how to do it.
And Tobias, I would highly appreciate and honor your honesty towards your personal life, because I know it's not always easy to say that I'm not perfect at something. So I truly appreciate it.
Thanks. Well, yeah, that's we are all just humans, right? Nobody is perfect, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, it also went to my mind when we were speaking quite a lot in today's podcast about women empowerment and all this topic, that where the focus goes, energy flows. Mm-hmm. Also, the Tony Robbins, #1 in New York Times mindset coach, he addressed that. And I truly believe that also just by simply talking and addressing the topics and speaking about what is happening there, it's already making a change. And if somebody is looking for us at the moment, we would be really happy if you want to at least a little bit enhance and support the project. You can just click and give us a like or a comment. So it would enhance the voice of the podcast. And with regards to you, Tobias, is there any message you would like to give a younger you if he or she would like to become a trade show guy,
person, girl, whatever? Yeah. Well, yeah. I think in general, the most important thing is do what you love, right? Then you will be successful, no matter in which job. And I think it's very important that, I mentioned it earlier, if, you see that you're doing something that you don't like, then stop it. But that doesn't mean that, there will always be some obstacles or challenges in life which you need to overcome. So there are also tough times which you sometimes have to go through in order to get out stronger. For me, for example, also the situation during the pandemic, during COVID, where the whole event industry was basically shut down because we couldn't do any events, any trade shows and all of that. And we tried and we organized and we were ready. And then, of course, the COVID situation didn't allow it. That was super frustrating for all of us. I guess I speak there for the entire events industry. And I think, as bad as it was, but you can always think, back and say, hey, that was a tough time, but we managed it, we went through it, and here we are back on track. I think you also need these, let's say, lows in life in order to really get up again. There's, I think, no good career without any, ups and downs, I would say. Yeah.
And is there anything which we don't address so far, if it is with regards to Aeroflitshafen, maybe some invitation or from your personal life? What would you like to mention?
Well, of course, I would like to invite or use the opportunity at this stage to invite everybody to come to our show in Friedrichshafen next year in April. It's going to be, again, a 4-day event full of get-together, touch all the aircraft, see all the different segments of our show. It's going to be from the 22nd to the 25th of April. And if you cannot or don't want to wait that long, we also have Aero Asia coming up in end of November in Zhuhai in the south of China this year. And then next year in June, it's going to be also the time again for Aero South Africa at Lanseria Airport. So please come visit our show. It's a great opportunity to meet other aviation enthusiasts, pilots, all the crazy guys that really drive our industry. And also it's a good place for newcomers to step into the industries, looking for job opportunities or simply look at some role models and learn from these people.
Yeah, I can also only add that it's all true. We were also very happy to be a part of Friedrichshafen in 2025. A lot of interesting people, and it's not just about the aircraft as itself when you address. It's also about the people who are in, and you are greeting the sometimes same faces which you just meet once a year on your show.
Yeah.
So that's from my part, as female.
Yeah.
Emotions are important.
Yes.
So this is very nice to gather and to be there and to have also some parties and enjoying the time.
Community,
yeah.
It's a little bit like Christmas, It's like a family reunion once a year in Friedrichshafen for all the different areas, for helicopters, for gliders, ultralights, typical GA pilots, but also business aviation. And there are a lot of examples I know personally, and probably some out there as well, from people, pilots or technicians who really started maybe as a glider pilot or as a private pilot and made their way more and more into helicopters or into business aviation. And I think that's a lot of these stories really start at Aero, because you see all the different segments and get excited. So,
from my perspective, it was really nice that in one space you can meet so much different people and different industries. You can go from helicopter hall to business jet sector, then to some parts where we were. Actually, also we were addressing the sustainability projects as to our contacts with arbeoperu.org. And this is really important that we can gather and we can think also business-wise.
Yeah.
What many business, I would say, might start there. And it was not my first Aero Friedrichshafen. Yeah. During my career, I worked for a lot of companies. And it's so nice to just coming for the same show. Even, let's say, the code is different.
Yeah.
The people are still the same.
Yes. Yeah, and I think also, speaking, for example, about the Czech community also, I mean, we have every year, and I love to have them here in Friedrichshafen. We have every year a Czech pavilion and a lot of Czech exhibitors in that pavilion, but also in all the different areas. What I simply would love to see is also to have more guys from Czech Republic coming as visitors, as attendees, and of course from the entire region. Yeah, so really come to our show. It was great this year, back in April, and for sure it will be next year again.
So see you in Aero Friedrichshafen in 2026 or in upcoming years. And is there any last word how you would like to say farewell to our podcast?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation and that we finally meet again, right? It was a bit of a challenge with all the appointments and activities and a lot of travels and all of that. So really thank you. Thank you for that very nice conversation, I have to say. And again, I hope to see you and you guys out there next year again in April at our show.
Okay, so that's all. I thank you also for coming, for making all the way from Germany to Prague. We are recording now in Prague studio.
Yes.
And it's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you so much.
See you in Aero Friedrichshafen. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.